Next schedule is Schedule 10, Department of Children Family Services. That schedule begins on page 101, ends on page 102.
Representative McFarland.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. The Department of Children and Family Services is funded at $928.9 million, which is $9.1 million less than their existing operating budget. This is primarily savings from the retirement rate adjustment, savings from projected vacant positions, and a decrease in funding needed for information systems. House committee amendments are as follows: $3 million means of financing changes in state general fund and federal fund to expand alternatives to abortion initiatives.
We do have a question. Representative Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. If possible, I have a question for Secretary Matlock.
Is the secretary here? Please come to the podium. Please state your name and title.
David Matlock, I'm the Secretary of DCFS. Good morning. Greetings from the Iberville building, and good to see you, Representative.
Good morning, Secretary Matlock, and I appreciate all the work that you and I have been having in conversations. And I just wanted to ask you, we have put the $3.5 million back into the budget for DCFS to administer the EBT program, and I'm just wondering, how does DCF look at administering the summer EBT program for this year, for this upcoming July 1 budget?
The rollout has three substantial state partners, really others as well: DCFS, Department of Education, OTS. And the DCFS portion, the state general funds portion of the DCFS portion of $3.5 million will enable us to do that. Because it involves multiple agencies, multiple partners within the state, it can be rolled out based on the information that we currently have from our other partners, our other state partners. We can roll out a lump sum payment by the end of this year for the summer, for this coming summer, but it would be the end of this calendar year before all of the partners would be able to complete their components to be able to issue the cards.
Okay, so
Our component is a part of that, takes less time, but it can't be implemented until some of our partners have completed their portion. Does that make sense?
It does. So we're not sure if this summer will be in action based on the coordination of the three partners.
It would be retroactively in the sense that we could issue the cards for payments by the end of this calendar year for the preceding summer.
Okay. So for families who would normally receive these benefits, they might not receive them immediately, but we would see them receive it before the end of the calendar year.
That is the
That's
plan,
the plan.
based on the information that our partners have given me. Our component is, in some senses, they're all difficult and they're all challenging, but in
Yes.
some senses of a time is not the most extended part of that.
Okay.
And but yes, by the end of this year.
Okay, and I thank you for that, and I will be asking the other partners the same question.
Yes, ma'am.
And I appreciate everything you do with your communication with members of this body and people across the state who are looking to get these funds to those families that need them the most.
Yes, ma'am. And I also want to say I appreciate the work of yourself and others in the previous pandemic EBT cards and the rollout of that, which was done. It's a different thing, as you know, but
Yes.
it involves many of the same
Elements.
elements.
Yes.
And so I just wanted to acknowledge the work of those that have come before, including particularly yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dean.
Representative Marcel, is your question for the speaker? Secretary? All right.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Great. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
I need some clarity on what you just said to Representative Freeman.
Yes, ma'am.
The $3.1 million that has been restored for the summer EBT program, are you saying that those families will not receive that during the summer months when the children are at home, during this summer month period?
They will receive it for those summer months. They would not receive it in those summer months.
So in
We
essence,
can't, yes.
I'm just trying to figure out is there a problem with the timeline and rolling it out? Or what is the problem with getting those funds to the families when the children are at home? Because my experience has been that the parents need additional dollars to feed their kids during the summer,
Yes,
not
ma'am.
after the summer has passed. So is there any opportunity for any of that to change?
It will depend on how quickly some of this rolls out, particularly with our partners, our state partners on this. It involves multiple agencies. And based on the information that I have as to what our partner stakeholders, state agencies, will be able to do from a timeline standpoint, they will be able to speak better to that. And this is a dynamic landscape as to what they can do. Our portion, I know the timelines for, but that has to be added to because
So what's your timeline?
our timeline realistically would be 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Once we know there's a commitment, there's money, and the information will be provided to us on a date certain. Once that date certain is known, we will add 6 or 8 weeks. Others on my staff may be able to speak better to that. So, but our timeline begins in a sense that some of the information system development can begin once we know there's a commitment, but we have to integrate the information as to the families that are eligible, the names, parents. This eligibility is a multi-step. It's not quite as simple as the pandemic eligibility was. It's got eligibility information that is not available to DCFS. And so until our state partners furnish that to us, 6 weeks, 8 weeks after we get the information and it is imported
So we
into
do
our
have
data system,
We have the commitment today, though, right? For the 3.1 million.
then I also need to know when they will get that information available to be imported into the system of ours that will be developed.
Okay, well, I'd like to speak with the other stakeholders
ma'am.
as well, because I see it as a problem if the students are not able to get the food during the summer months.
Yes,
when
ma'am.
they're out of school. I mean, it's great if you get a lump sum of food, but you need to feed the kids while they're out of school, and that's primarily the purpose of the summer EBT program, so that parents won't have to struggle and not be able to feed the children during those months. So I'd like to have some sidebars with you all to see if we can fast track that.
I would be thrilled to do that, to be honest with you. And we have developed the timelines early on, but we have not pulled the trigger, so to speak, on the spending the money
Right,
until
yes.
we've got the money and we know that our partners will be able to deliver and import the information to us. And they're important. We are too. But they're
I appreciate that, and we're gonna pull the trigger and get with the other partners so we can get those
yes, ma'am.
EBT items to the people who need them.
I do want to just mention, I also hope and am informed that we'll have an additional 1 million meals fed to children this summer, direct feeding programs, grab and go, as well as direct feeding programs and the synergy that's associated with those programs, in addition to the summer EBT cards, if the funding is provided and if the information is delivered to us. And we look forward to working with y'all with our state partners on this.
Okay,
And
thank
grateful
you.
for it.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Laura Verdane, is your question for this speaker?
Good morning. Thank you, sir.
Morning.
You're still going to have the summer feeding program at the particular schools, is that correct?
Yes, that's not our program. It's an important program. It's a great program. It is done through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, largely based on our Department of Education, but then also other folks, our various parochial schools, and then other non-governmental organizations will also be able to deliver that. We can coordinate it, we can be involved in the information sharing, but it's not our program, so to speak. It is in the sense that it's all of our program.
But that program will be feeding kids at the schools, is that correct?
That is a part of it.
Okay.
That's a huge part of it. That's Department of Education.
Off record, I want to ask you some questions about that.
Okay.
Let's go about the SNAP program. Can you hear,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dean, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
I apologize.
No, I can hear.
Okay. Let's talk about the SNAP program for the summer. You said it's going to take you about 8 weeks to implement. School will
Our
be...
department, it's not going to be implemented until the end of the calendar year.
Which will be when?
December.
Will those kids have those benefits for this summer, May, June? Because
They will not.
they will not.
They will not.
Damn. So we won't have the SNAP programs in the next few weeks because we hadn't budgeted and it's not in the process. Is that correct? So we're going to do this for next year, or when will those parents get that additional money?
The anticipation, if our state partners are able to deliver us the information in the timeline that we expect them to be able to do that, then by the end of this calendar year, we will be, this December 2024, we anticipate being able to issue the cards for this coming summer, the previous summer as of December, but June, July, August of 2024, the money will be attributable to that summer. Rolling out the next year, if the funding is continued, to be able to develop it for what I'll call next summer, summer 2025,
Okay.
should be a much easier rollout, obviously.
So we've missed the deadline to feed the kids for May, June, July, and August. Is that correct?
We can issue it for that period. We will not be able to issue that until roughly December of 2024.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Representative Hughes, is your questions for the speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Mr. Secretary, thank you so much. I
Yes,
think
sir.
we've made crystal clear at this point what your agency is equipped to do with regard to some EBT, so thank you for clarifying that. Let me just ask you, you have made reference to the other partners that you have to work with in order to execute the program. Who are the other partners, just in case I have some follow-up questions for them?
The key
I would assume the Department of Education is one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, who else?
OTS has
OTS.
to be involved.
Okay.
They manage the information systems that are involved
Okay.
for this program.
Okay, and it is the Department of Education's responsibility to furnish the information of who is eligible in terms of children and families, or what is their role in this?
That's correct.
Okay. Anyone else besides DOE and OTS?
There are the Division of Administration, the governor's office. I mean, we cooperate with a lot of people involved in this, but the key players would be...
Key players would be DCFS, OTS,
And
and
DOE.
DOE. Perfect. Well, Mr. Secretary, thank you for your partnership and your leadership, and we certainly look forward to working with you to execute this very important program that will certainly benefit the children and families of our state, but would also enhance the local economies of all 64 parishes. Thank you, Mr. Dean.
Are there any more questions? Yeah, Representative Freiberg, you have a question of the speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me clarify then, the money that we have put forth that we hope the feds are going to match, that money will not be available till December for
Correct.
families. So this summer, families will have what resources for meals for their children?
They'll have our normal SNAP benefits. And again, this is a limited pool of children. These are children who attend public schools, who are eligible through their attendance discipline and so forth, attending on the I don't want to go in to get too granular on that. But those families, as well as all the other families and all of the other children, for example, those attending parochial schools or other schools that don't avail themselves of this, or homeschooled or expelled, or will get their customary SNAP benefits, which are intended to cover 12 months. And it's the same benefit that they have gotten for many, many years. In addition to that, we hope to have the summer program, feeding programs, grab and go, as well as congregate feeding.
And who sponsors the grab and go?
Well, it's largely administered through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and it is, or provided, and they provide the food. Local non-governmental organizations, local government organizations, schools, private schools, YMCAs, Boys and Girls Clubs, any sort of groups, parenting training groups can do that, and we can encourage and promote, inform, and we can certainly inform our folks who receive SNAP benefits about the availability of summer feeding programs, and we have developed, we understand the importance of that, and the accountability associated with that congregate feeding and with the grab and go feeding. And that's
Thank
not
you, because
necessarily.
I've had a lot of questions from my district on this, and I know it's a very critical issue.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate your leadership and look forward to what we can do to resolve all these problems. Thank you.
Are there any other questions of this speaker? If not, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Representative McFarland, back on your bill. I show no questions. Are there any amendments, Madam Clerk?
No amendments at the desk for Schedule 10.
Representative McFarland, do you have a motion?
I do, Mr. Dean, to make a motion we adopt Schedule 10.
Is there any objection? No objection, so adopted.
Special Order Number 4, House Bill 782 by Representative McFarland to appropriate funds, make certain reductions from certain sources, be allocated to designated agencies, purposes, and specific amounts for the purpose of making supplemental appropriations and reductions. And just as a reminder, members, the LFO report for a number of these bills in special order are available online with respect to each bill.
Rep. McFarland on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, House Bill 782 appropriates supplemental funding and provides for the means of finance substitutions and other budgetary adjustments for the current fiscal year. In House Bill 782, $7 million to the domestic violence shelter statewide, $3.6 million to the summer SNAP program. All appropriations in this bill have been deemed a bona fide obligation of the state, so they're eligible for expenditure in fiscal year 25.
Rep. Freeman for a question on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Chairman, for all of your hard work with the members of this body on this particular supplemental legislation. I had a specific question about Office of Technology Services, and obviously we couldn't call them down to the well when we were on HB1, but I know they're funded in this bill, and some of their funding is here. Will you work with me going forward and other members of this body to help them build the proper portal for the summer ABT? Because based on what we learned a few minutes ago from Dr. Brumley and from Secretary Matlock, OTS, Office of Technology Services, is a critical piece to us seeing those funds. So will you work with me on that?
Absolutely. I found it quite disturbing myself, Representative Freeman, that we have state agencies come up here and stand here and tell them that the will of this legislature is to appropriate $3.6 million for a program that they've operated for 2 years and now be told, well, we can't do it this summer, we got to have this, we got to have that. Well, you didn't have to have that the last 2 years. This body legislates and makes the laws and appropriates the dollars. And we have the ability to tell the agencies where they're going to spend that money, how they're going to spend that money, and when they're going to spend that money. So for an agencies to come up here and tell me they can't work together, maybe they can do this one's got to do that, hogwash. Hogwash. I find that very disturbing over a $3.6 million funding allocation when the two agencies that was up here have billions of dollars, and you're telling me we can't figure out how to spend $3.6 million? Yeah, I'm fired up about that. I didn't like it when I was sitting here listening to it, and I don't like it now. Though this is our job. Those are our constituents demanding that they have that. That's the request that we get. Just as we got the request from the teachers to get that stipend up, we got the same request to get that summer EBT program funded. So, yes, Representative Freeman, I will work with you, and we will do whatever we got to do to move DOE, DCFS, and OTS, and any other initial to do what we tell them to do in this body.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rep. McFarland, you have a right to close.
I waive.
Rep. McFarland moves final passage of the bill. In favor, vote yea. Those opposed, vote nay. Madam Clerk, please open the machines. Members, vote your machines. Members, vote your machines. Rep. Mandy Landry, Emerson. Members, vote your machines. Members, either are voting. Members, either are voting. The clerk will close the machine. We have 102 yeas, 0 nays, and the bill finally passes. Rep. McFarland moves to adopt the title, moves to receive the vote, which will finally pass. Let the motion on the table without objection, so order.